Welcome to the Digital Thought Leader Podcast. We help coaches, professional speakers, authors, and thought leaders elevate their online presence so that they can attract their ideal client. We give you the resources, tips, motivations, and success stories to help you step out of your comfort zone and share your God-given talents with the world. I'm your host, Kimberly Inez Mays. Now let's get it started. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Digital Thought Leader Podcast. I'm excited for this episode. I am speaking with Elizabeth Pamaplone about her business, and it's going to be a real treat in this episode because she is an accomplished speaker and she is going to inspire you to success. So, Elizabeth Pampalone is an engaging speaker, successful entrepreneur, master networker, and trusted business advisor with over 20 years of experience, all meticulously scripted to equip business visionaries to achieve success through the power of absolute marketing. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so that was quite a lot, and I have so many questions to unpack from your bio. But tell me, what is it that you do?
So I own an agency where we help small business owners and nonprofits to create all of their marketing in less than a week for a whole year.
Wow, that's awesome. So you mean to tell me if they go to you, then you do all their marketing, and what does that entail?
Mm-hmm. It includes it's a 5-day system called Absolute Marketing. And we start with branding in a day, website in a day, social media in a day, which is 12 months of social media posts in one day, 12 months of blogging in a day, and 12 months of email marketing in a day.
Wow, that's actually incredible too, because I know that we do this kind of a similar thing. So I'm really excited to have kind of a sister in business who's doing the same thing because, like I said before in our previous conversation, that just because you have somebody doing something similar doesn't take anything away from you. So I'm excited to hear Elizabeth's process and how she helps her clients, and also just some of the things that she offers to really unpack what all of that means. And just let us know, like, how do you do that, and how do you establish branding in a week?
So yeah, the branding is done the first day. We really start with the name because a lot of people will come to me and maybe their name is, they've been, 10 years, that same name, same brand. And maybe we'll touch the name and maybe we'll mess with it and change it or adjust it. And maybe we won't. Some clients just have good names for their companies and we can work with that. Other clients, maybe they've changed and evolved over the years, or maybe they're just starting out and they wanted to name their company something like Axios, or, it's like, okay, like decluttering company, like that doesn't make sense, So we try to make sure we get that foundational piece in because that name is going to be super important for everything they do going forward. And then we do color psychology, font psychology, and we work with, we create the logo. And then after lunch, we start in on the ebook and we create like a 10-page ebook that they can put on their website for free.
Awesome. So if you start with the name, are these brand new business owners that don't have a business yet, or are these people who are already established and looking to rebrand?
It's a mix of both. Sometimes we'll start with people who say, I think this is what I want my name to be, or I bought a domain for this name just because it was the only one available. And we'll really scrutinize that to make sure that it's the right name for them. Even if the domain isn't available, sometimes that's almost secondary because this name is going to be going beyond the domain. It's going to go, into other places. So one company that came to me, she wanted to do a communications firm, and that was her business. She was brand new. She'd never done this before. And she wanted this name that had this enigmatic feel, that had not a corporate feel, but still showed that she had expertise and was sort of corporate. So what we ended up doing was we actually went to Greek words. And the Greek word, and her name is telos, which means to communicate. And so when we created her name for her domain name, we were throwing back and forth names and how we could get this in there because telos.com was already taken because it was a company that already exists. But hers was going to be Telos Communications, and Telescom and Telos Communications was too long. And what we ended up coming up with was DOTELOS.com. Which is do tell us, which sounds like do tell us, like talk to us.
Yeah.
So she was super happy with it. And it just kind of all came together. So that name, even though we might be creating it for a new company, we're also working with that domain name to find out what we can do to create that together. But they don't always have to be exactly the same, and they don't always have to be the .com or, things like that. So we really start with that foundation of just the name first, so that has a solid foundation to work with for years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I get a lot of clients who are really stressing about the domain name and they're saying, oh, it's taken. Now I have to change my business name. And, they don't know about the little variations you can do. So I think that was really clever about the do just in front of do tell us, because it's something she definitely wouldn't have thought of. I probably wouldn't have thought of that too. And what's your opinion on domains other than .com or .net? Because I know that a lot of them are coming up now. I know there's a .coach and a dot anything you could think of, really.
I had a .academy for a while. I had a company called Simplified Academy, and of course, those names were all taken. So I used Simplified Academy, and it worked out really well. And people got it. It wasn't, hard for them to understand. And actually, many years ago, when those other domains came out, I had a client that About Face Aesthetics was her company name, and About Face was just taken everywhere. I mean, there was nowhere else you could get it. It was just all the .coms, the .orgs, everything was taken. And it came up, and she said, well, I'm the face guru. That's what I do. I'm the face guru. She kept saying that. And I found out that they had just released .guru. And so we did About Face .guru, and she has that to this day. So it was really interesting that we just used it. And she said, I'm the About Face .guru. And everybody was like, yeah. And it didn't matter that it wasn't a .com. So I feel like if there's an opportunity to use it, then do that. But if you can get the .com or the .net, it just makes it easy when you're explaining it. But at the same time, it doesn't, I don't feel like it really matters in the long-term things.
Yeah, because I changed my opinion on that too. Before I was like, no, it has to be a .com or .net. But as these new domains keep coming out, I have a .me and I have a .life for something else. So it's actually really interesting, the combinations you can do. So yeah, to your point, to the business name, getting that first, and then domains, you could just work that out, as needed too. Amazing. And you say that that's all before, well, a lot of that was all before lunch. It sounds like that's a day's work.
I do keep them on a timetable. And I've had clients where we finished before lunch, for their domain and getting their name and their logo and all that. And then I have other clients that have gone to like 3 p.m. and they still haven't made a decision. And I'll say, you're eating into our ebook time, and I had one client, she's like, I don't even want the ebook. I just want this to be right.
Yeah.
I just want it to be like the thing I need. And so I was like, that's great. We will keep working on this until it's right then, until you feel comfortable and I know that it's going to work for you. So, it just depends on what the day ends up looking like. But yeah, I try to keep them on a timetable, and I really do follow the Parkinson's law aspect of how I structure the days, because the Parkinson's law says that if you give a task an amount of time, it will take that amount of time. So if you give yourself 2 days to empty the dishwasher, it will take you 2 days to do that. But if you give yourself an 8-hour day to complete a branding project or a website it'll take an 8-hour day.
Yeah, it definitely will. And I think, hearing that is important, because I think a lot of business owners, they come to us, with a need, and, they don't understand that there's their role in it too, that, you have to be able to devote a little bit of time into anything that you invest in, And what I wanted to ask too is, what do they need to be prepared when they start working with you?
My favorite thing, nothing.
Okay, awesome.
I don't prepare for it, and neither do they. And the reason I do that is because I don't want to have any preconceived ideas about what I think it should be. I want us to collaborate when we get there. Sometimes people will say, well, I have to prepare something. Like they're just that type of personality. They have to. And so I give people a checklist. At the top of the checklist, it says, you can do this or you don't have to. Like, this is not something to put pressure on you. This is to say, if you have some of these items, bring them with you. You don't have these items, we will figure it out. I've had people come with literally not even bring their own computer to the day. And we've made it work. Those aren't ideal days, but they work either way. I've had people bring bios and, just like pages and pages and notebooks and, And we barely use any of it because I've taken them in the direction they needed to go rather than
Mm-hmm.
this little pool that they've been swimming in trying to figure it out. So I actually love that we don't have to do a ton of prep. And I know it might sound crazy to all the planners out there, but definitely a planner. And this has been so freeing for me to just say, here's your contract, here's your invoice, here's a small checklist, don't worry about it. And we just show up on the day and we get everything done.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. That sounds really, really great too. Because I know about the pages of notes too. And sometimes over planning can really slow you down. And plus, they're coming to you for your expertise. So anything they might
Yeah.
have come up with prior is probably, like you said, not the direction that they really should be going in. So I love that because I think that is really freeing too. That, you could put your trust into somebody and they can deliver a service for you. And I have a question for you. So you said that they sometimes they don't come with computers. Do you
Yeah.
deliver this in virtually or do you deliver this in person too?
Always in person.
Okay.
I've done virtual before, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not the same. I don't get the
Mm-hmm.
same interaction. I don't get the same, reaction to
Mm-hmm.
certain things. I can't see the body language as well. Even if you're on video, it's hard to see. Maybe they're like tapping their foot, on
Mm-hmm.
the floor. Like those kinds of things can really tell me. Because if they go, yeah, I mean, it's like I'll show them a logo, and they'll go, yeah, it's okay, but they're like tapping their foot so furiously. And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, tell me why you don't like it. And they'll go, well, what do you mean? I didn't say that. Like, yes, I know you didn't say that, but I know what about it is bothering you. And they'll go, okay, well, this and this and this, and they'll open up. And so it's just those slight nonverbal cues. Having someone get frustrated through the process, that happens a lot. And I can kind of help calm that down. I can say, okay, we're going to get up, we're going to do 10 jumping jacks right now. Like, depending on the person, like, there's
Hmm.
always something that I can do
Yeah.
to break up that, you're going to, okay, I want you to take a lap. We have our building, it has this hallway that basically is a loop. And I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, go take a lap. You need a lap. And so it just depends on the person, but I can always, fix that situation or help them calm down or help them get more excited or whatever it is that they need in
Hmm.
that moment when we're in person. So it just makes a lot of difference to be in person.
Yeah, that's amazing too. Because I know that right now we can't really meet in person. It's a little bit difficult. So what if somebody wanted to work with you right now? What are the things that you're doing to run your business during the COVID pandemic?
So we actually are still open.
Mm.
Our office of building has been open and we've actually still been meeting with clients. We
Oh,
have these
nice.
huge conference rooms that
Mm-hmm.
normally fit like 10, 12 people, and it's like fitting three.
Mm-hmm.
So we have all that worked out and down. And we have people that come to us. We fly and go and see people.
Mm-hmm.
We have some PPE that we use. I mean, it's just, we keep doing what we're doing. I'm not really stopping for a lot of this. Like, I need to keep helping people because really
Mm-hmm.
right now they need this type of service more than ever. And we've seen that with the workload that we've had.
Mm-hmm.
We've also gained a lot of clients who want to do our managed services, which are not the in-person things. It's like the after the in-person part. So we've seen a lot of those people come back to us and say, okay, now I really need that managed service piece. But the in-person stuff is still happening. I just did a 5-day session, a whole week session with someone who was leaving a franchise and starting their own business from, similar to the franchise. And they had to be out of it by April 30th. That was a couple of weeks ago. And so we worked with them a few weeks before that happened because they had there was a deadline by the legal deadline they had to follow. So we had to help them out.
Nice. And I love that you just said, you're not stopping, you're not slowing, because I think there's that temptation with a lot of business owners like,
Yeah.
okay, well, everything is shut down. I'm done. It's finished. Even online, even people who deliver services virtually, they assume that people aren't buying, that people aren't, in need. There's nobody else selling. And I think that is a mistake because right now, even if you're just starting out, you could still be planting those seeds. So what you're doing with them is
Absolutely.
definitely planting those seeds for the other side of this so that ex
Yeah.
franchise owner is now going to have a business that he or she could, now run because of the
Hmm.
investment. So that's awesome. And I love that you haven't like fully shut down too, because you got to use whatever options are available to you no matter like where you are.
Yeah, and we're here in Florida, so we
Mm-hmm.
have, been slowly opening up over the last week or so. And but our office building houses a lot of essential businesses, and we would tell people we'll do it virtually if you want to. It's whatever makes you comfortable, but if you want to come into the office, we're here. We're
Mm-hmm.
here for you. And they were like, please let me get out of the house. And we were like,
Yeah.
okay, you bring your snacks, you bring your drinks, and we'll sit down and have fun for a day.
Yeah. Cool. So, how did you get started in your business?
I actually started making websites when I was 14, and that was 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was building them in HTML in the notepad on your computer, that kind of coding.
Mm-hmm.
And then I branched out into WordPress about 7 years later. And about 4 years ago, I started using Squarespace. So I have a web programming degree. So this is kind of second nature to me almost.
That's awesome because I have a almost similar identical story too. I started in high school around the same time 20 years ago, and I don't know if you remember a service called like Angel Fire or GeoCities,
Yes. Yeah.
where we made our like little free websites with the blinking
Yep.
text and the ugly little
Hmm.
backgrounds. I did it. I admit that I made some horrible looking sites, but it was fun to tinker around with HTML. And yeah, and then I still do WordPress. I dabble in Squarespace a little bit, but yeah, it is fun to tinker. So a lot of times our careers come out of things that we dabbled in as
Yeah.
hobbies. And I just find that so funny because as of today, I was the only one with that story of just tinkering as a teenager, just trying to figure out, okay, well, how do I make this JavaScript counter look like I had thousands of visitors to my sites, something like
Do
that.
you remember Lissa Explains It All? Do you remember
Yes.
that?
Mm-hmm.
I use that. That's how I learned everything. I know, like
Mm-hmm.
Lissa taught me everything. Like so, yeah, that was really the intro. And when I told
Mm-hmm.
my parents, I was this is so I was 14. So when I was like 17, I was graduating high school, and I told my parents like I'm going to school for this, and they were like,
Mm-hmm.
we need no, this is not a job because it was only
Mm-hmm.
2001, 2002, like 2003, like that time frame. They're like, you don't know, we don't know, this is not, we don't know if this is a good job. Like how would we know the internet's going to be around forever? And I remember going to the library and getting one of those like job books
Mm-hmm.
that has all the salaries in it, and like they estimate what the salaries will be in like 5, 10 years, whatever. And I'm like, look, programmer. You see that? Like that says, and I chose programming because I thought design wasn't profitable enough. And I did programming for so long that even when people would come to me when I first started my business and they would say, I need a logo, I was like, no, I can't do that. I'm a programmer. I don't do that. And so I grew into that over time, but it was definitely a little bit of a curve for me to kind of like get out of that programming mindset. Like I'm just a programmer. Don't ask me to design your
Mm-hmm.
logo.
Yeah, it is a mindset. It's like not a mindset shift, but it is just a shift in thinking because programming. I'm a programmer at heart too. That's where I started out. I love it. I could do it all day long. And then when you have to do something using your right brain, it's like, okay, well, I don't know if this looks good, and I'm struggling. But yeah, that's where the power of partnership comes in because I have a design partner, so I can kind of design a little bit, but really my design partner is what does all the design. But it's fantastic that you offer design too, because that's what people are coming to you for, and that's what people need. You know? And do you have
Yeah,
a?
and it was one of those things that I was more creative as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
than and I would do all these creative things, but then I thought programming was like kind of like, well, I'm gonna be a nurse because that's a good job. Like I thought, well, programming, that's a good job. That's why I did programming to begin with. So I hate science, I hate math, like it's
Mm-hmm.
all programming stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of am almost a programmer by default. That's kind of I'm like the opposite of that. Like I'm more of a designer, but then I got
Mm-hmm.
into programming, so then I kind of stuck with it, and then I went back to being a designer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of funny that like you think you're one thing or you do one thing
Mm-hmm.
because you think you'd be better, and then you end up doing the other thing you should have done anyway. So it always gets you in the end.
Yeah, it definitely does. Because now I'm going back to my left brain, which is marketing automation. So now
Yeah, yeah,
I just want to geek out, but I love both. So I think that's just a really cool story too. And there's definitely profitability in anything that you enjoy. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. It's like, well, I like this thing, but I got to do this thing. And
yeah.
there's always something to be made out of what you love. And what are some of the things that you've done to make your business successful?
Well, I've done a lot with networking,
Hmm.
like in-person networking, obviously before everything shut down, and hopefully that will come back at some point. But that was what's really made my business. I speak a lot and I do a ton of networking. I still network about 1 to 2 times a week, but for a while there, for a year, I committed to networking 3 times a day for a year, and I did that, and I became one of the most well-known people in my city. Excuse me. But at the end of that, everyone knew me, but then they knew what I did, but I wasn't really getting the traction that I thought I would from it. So then I really just started embracing my brand more. And that
Hmm.
was me with the green dress. I'm wearing green today. I have a tiara that I wear. And so then when I would go out and speak, because now I knew all the groups and I knew where to go to speak, and I was well known that they weren't like, oh, you're just fly by night person, come and speak at our group and then leave, you know?
Hmm.
But then this would help me to like be remembered and recognized. So then when I would go out without my green dress or without my tiara, people would like, where's the tiara? Where's the green dress? So networking really helped in the beginning to get me known. And then embracing that brand more really helped to solidify that and help me be remembered in people's minds.
Hmm. I love that. And I love that embracing your brand. And I love just knowing what makes you stand out, what makes you identifiable. 'Cause a lot of people come to me and they say, Kim, what is branding? And before I give you my answer, I would like to know from you, like if somebody were to come to you and say, Elizabeth, what do you mean by branding? Just what is that? What would you tell them?
I would say that there's three pieces of it. There's your visual representation, there's your verbal representation, which is usually like your mission, vision, things like that. And then there's that feeling
Hmm.
that comes from your brand. So when people see my brand, I have a certain feeling I want them to get from that, or when they see any brand. And it also has to go back. That goes into color, that goes into font choice, that goes into all these pieces that we do on my branding day, because I feel like all those are important. And so it's really that visual representation is that logo. When I first see it, I'm like, gotcha, I know who you are. That feeling I get from it, and then that message that's that written representation.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you talk about feeling because that's what I tell people too. It's like, yeah, your branding is just the impression you're leaving on other people. It's how you make them
Mhm.
feel. So a lot of them confuse it with marketing, but marketing is not the same as branding. Marketing is just for a specific result, but branding is more overall. Branding is more organic and higher level. And it takes a while to cultivate, So I love that you broke it down into those three pieces. So I think a lot of people need to understand that you have to have all three in order to put it together.
Yes, and some people think a brand is a logo, and
Mm-mm.
it's such a small piece of it.
Yeah.
Um, and also, I feel like it's your foundation. I mean, you're not going
Hmm.
to build a house with four, sticks in the corner, 3 sticks of the four in the corners. You're going to have four corners, right?
Hmm.
And if you take one away, then your house can maybe be a little wobbly.
Hmm.
And so that's what this brand really does is you have these three pieces. And if you take one of those pieces away, or you take two of those pieces away, and you just have this pretty logo,
Hmm.
what does that do for me? It doesn't speak to me in any other way than, oh, that's a pretty logo. Or maybe it's not very pretty, because sometimes that
Hmm.
happens. So this really does, I feel like branding really does give you that solid foundation to build everything else on. That's why we do it the first day, and the second
Hmm.
day is the website. Now we have those two pieces. Let's do 12 months of social media posts and put those in, so we're building each one of those days builds on itself. And if
Hmm.
someone says, I can only do 3 days, I can only do 2 days, I'm like, great, we're starting with branding and website, because
Hmm.
we have to start there. We can't just jump around in the middle, because then we wouldn't have a foundation to build on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think also what a lot of people that come to me struggle with regards to branding is they don't know who they are for.
Yeah.
So I think that is the confusing part is they're worried about the impression that they're giving, but at the same time they don't even know who they're trying to impress. And I
Yeah.
think that's very important to identify your ideal client. And I know that's what you do on day one is to talk about who they serve. You know,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
super
And
important.
getting that ideal client down, getting that target market down, those are huge pieces of that emotion, because
Hmm.
we don't want to be, selling to, our goal is to sell to kids and teenagers or something like that. And we're like, making it a little too adult or something like that.
Hmm.
You have to have this like perfect line that says, here are the people and here's how I talk to them or how I present to them. I've had people work with, people who have really high educated and have these crazy degrees that I could never even hope to get. And it's like, they have to speak to them a certain way and they have to present to them a certain way
Mm-hmm.
so that makes them take notice. You're not going to say that like Carl's Jr. is the favorite or like
Mm-hmm.
Hardee's is the favorite, like that's not the type of brand for that type of group. Now, if you talk about Ruth's Chris, okay, now we're talking a little different. So
Mm-hmm.
you've got this like different aspects of what each person is going to sit up and take notice of. Not that one is better than the other. It's just that you're for a certain group of people and you need to be really embracing that and really focusing on what they're going to feel, what they're going to think, what they're going to embrace along with you to say, I need to go there. I need to buy that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, that is super important to just know that whatever lane that you're in, it's fine. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not that you're better than someone else or someone else is
Right.
better than you, because I get a lot of people who are comparing. They'll come to me with another business. It's like, oh, I want to do what she's doing. I'm like, well, she's doing X and you're doing Y.
Yeah.
So it's not really going to be the same. So if you do the same strategies, you're not going to yield the same results because you're two different businesses. So yeah, thanks for you know, really just fleshing that out, because I think that's important to hear. And so, what's some of the things you wish you have known when you started out?
Um, Office hours are really important.
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah.
that's one of my things I still struggle with. Recently I've been doing really good with that, but I think it took a pandemic for me to like get it through my head that I needed to
Mm-hmm.
do that. But yeah, it's definitely the office hours was a huge piece, and knowing that my time is still valuable on my end.
Mm-hmm.
So, having those office hours really does give you that precedent that says, I have personal time, and
Mm-hmm.
I need to do things with that personal time that do not involve y'all.
Yeah.
They involve me, my family, my laundry, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
um, Rather than having it be, oh, well, I'm waiting for that person to email me. And I wait all night, like keep checking, keep checking, keep checking. And then they email me at 10 p.m. And I really can't do anything about it till tomorrow anyway. So that kind of stuff. And just also being, um, like being calm about that and not
Mm-hmm.
worrying about, I'm going to lose a client. Because if you lose a client or you don't book a client over you not being Johnny on the spot, like every 5 seconds, then they're not the right client for you
Mm-hmm.
anyway. They're too demanding. They're not going to be happy with anything you do. And it's just going to, if they're going to fire you over that, and that's crazy. So, and most of the time, a lot of times we don't remember that our clients need us more than we need them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a really hard piece to remember for me, especially, is that I feel like I need the clients to make the income that we rely on as a family. However, my clients are hiring me because they don't know how to do this stuff. They're not ready to learn it. They don't want to learn it. They don't get it. I don't know, whatever the reason is. And they want my expertise on it, but they also do need me as well. So remembering that power dynamic is pretty even. But if you pull back and you're saying, okay, well, no, it's okay, whatever you want. I'm just okay. Then you're pulling that dynamic and giving them more power. Or if you're too aggressive and saying, okay, back off, client,
Mm-hmm.
I have things to do. You're not important. Then you're taking too much of the power. So it starts out even, and
Mm-hmm.
then we pull and ebb and flow, and we make decisions that change the power dynamic. So I think if we remember that there is a line and that we don't have to push it and we don't have to pull back on it, then we will have really good relationships with all of our clients.
Yeah. And I love that you said that too about office hours, because even if you're just starting your business, you're still a business and businesses have business hours. And that's what I had to kind of remember too, even as when I was doing my business part time. I was like, okay, well, these are my hours. I got to work later because I had a full time job, but now I'm full time and I still have hours because think it's important to have boundaries. People will respect you if you have boundaries, and
Yeah.
they get the best of you when you're doing well.
Yeah.
At 11,
Hmm.
11 o'clock, I'm not so like chipper, and I probably won't help you with your questions. So
Right.
I'll see the ping, but I won't answer it until the next day until I'm fresh, and
Right.
that's just out of respect for that person and for myself. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's a really good point to make too. So I know you have a lot of stuff going on, and if anyone's listening, if you're watching, if you're in Florida, definitely check out Elizabeth because I'm excited about her service. I want to check it out myself too. It's just nice to be present with somebody who's really working on your business and you're getting a lot done in a short amount of time. And I
Yeah.
know that if you're not in Florida, there are ways to work with Elizabeth and there's ways to get some of her brilliance. And I just want to just talk about your free website audit. So, what does that look like, and how could the listeners get in on that?
Yeah, so on my website, I have a tools page and an audits page. So the tools page has some really, really cool ebooks that I've written if you ever want to check those out. And then the audits page is a free website audit. So if you sign up for that, it's a pop up on my website. There's also just a page that says audits. If you go to that page or you go to the pop up, it'll actually ask you for a little bit of information, your name, your website, things like that. And I will send you a 10-minute video of me reviewing your website. And I do say I'm the Gordon Ramsay of websites. I don't want to make you cry. I want to make you better. So I will tear it up and I will be very direct about it, but it's so that you can really see what I'm seeing as a consumer and also as a marketer, designer. And I've torn up people's sites before and they've gotten a little mad, like, well, I built the site and it's beautiful. And I'm like, okay, well, then you go. Like, that's your site, you go for it. But then I've had other people say, oh my gosh, I see that now. Like, I didn't see it before. Now I totally see it. So it just depends on how you approach it. But I always give you the preface that I am going to tear it up. I am going to be mean, but it's so that you can make it better and you can actually get more clients because of the changes you make.
Yeah, and that is super valuable because you need people to really just tell it like it is. Because a lot of times people are impressed by things that are pretty, especially if you do it yourself.
Yeah.
But you have to remember that your site's not for you. It's for the people coming to it. It's for the people who are likely to buy from you. So it has to work for them. And I emphasize the word work because it has to be very clear, like what it is that you do and what do they do next. And so, yeah, it has to be functional. If it's just flashing all over the place, you may be impressed that you built something that's flashy, but it doesn't work. So, yeah, definitely take advantage of that. I have the link in the show notes. And, I just want to ask you just some quick questions about some of the things that you like. So, you already mentioned Parkinson's law, which is super important. And I have to remember this too. When to do my to-do list, that I'll wait to the last minute to do something because I give myself that time. But, what's one book that you highly recommend?
I had my life changed by a book a couple of years ago, and I don't think the books can change lives except the Bible. But other books, I'm like, okay, I used to read as a kid. It's, reading right now is just too much. And I was in a business owner book club, so I was forced to read a book every month. And I was like, oh, fine, I'll read the book. And we read Profit First. It totally changed everything about my business. It made us more profitable than we've ever been. It took our month to month 6-figure income that we were basically living month to month off of and gave us such abundance. I can't even tell you, and it was just a simple change that he tells you to make. It's not simple. I mean, it sounds really simple, but it seems like I'm just changing that one thing and it's going to make all these different changes, like make all these changes for me. And it really is true. So Profit First, I actually now, when people come to me and they say, I can't afford your services, I actually go to my cabinet, I have 10 copies almost at all times, just sitting in my house, in my office, and wherever I am, in my car, I have copies in my car, and I'll just go get them a book and say, here, come back in 3 months. You'll be able to afford me then. And
Nice.
they do it. They do it because they know that once they see and they read it, they're like, oh my gosh, this does work. So it's hard to implement, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it. If I had done this like years ago, like before when I started my business, or even like 10 years ago, I would have been so rich. It's not even funny.
Yeah. And I have the Audible version of it too. And it's just hilarious the way he reads it. And he's like, no, do it right now. Open that bank account. So there's some things in there that I'm like, okay, this is a lot, but it's definitely worth it. So yeah, I'll link to that. That's definitely a must read. I have to reread that one again. And what's one of your favorite technical resources or systems that you use in your business?
I just found this one recently, and it is like my world is turned upside down by it. I am really big on making sure that sites that I work with are compatible and compliant. So I have worked a lot on working with ADA compliance and making sure your site is up to par on that, because there are laws in place in the US that say you have to do these things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, privacy policies and terms and conditions are always very specific. You have to have knowledge of the business, you have to fill in certain things. And there was some templates I'd found where you could just get terms and conditions, and I would always say to people, these are placeholders. You must go and get the real thing from your lawyer. Some of my clients don't even have a lawyer, like they're not that in that space. And I found recently something called Termageddon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's the best.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. So I signed up as an affiliate with them because I'm just like, I don't even care if you pay me $1. I will give this to everybody. And that's pretty much what they're doing. They pay me $1. So anyway, but they have this great tool where they actually have lawyers that monitor and update your privacy policy for you all the time. And you pay $10 a month, and that's it. And you basically have this questionnaire you fill out when you initially start your account. And then they say, oh, fill out this questionnaire for your privacy policy. Here's some code, put it in your website. And now your privacy policy could be actually being updated right now. And you have no idea, but you are in compliance all the time.
Nice.
It's amazing. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I'm gonna link to that too, because that's so important to have that, especially now with just GDPR, and then now there's CCPA, and there's just so many different rules governing the use of information, especially for the UK. And a lot of people don't know about it. A lot of people don't think that they are liable for things. So it's just really about protecting your own business, and that's for $10 a month, that's $120 a year just to protect your business in that way. I know. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's actually fines. I looked up some of the fines that you can get for not having certain things on your site. If someone does find that you're not in compliance, they can fine you $7,500 per visitor. I was like, that's insane. That's a lot.
It is. It's a lot too. And it doesn't really matter what kind of site that you're running. You have to have a privacy policy. And then if you're selling stuff, there's also other terms and conditions that you need to have, terms of use just to protect your business. So yeah, definitely. That is a must have. I'll recommend that as well. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where can we find you online?
beyondthecause.co is my website. And I also have a website for the speaking engagements and coaching that I do, and it's elizabethpampalone.com.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm going to link to all of that. Definitely check her out. It is so nice to talk to a website peer, because this is exciting. Just because, we're both two different business owners working towards the same cause, and I support you. And I really appreciate you taking the time out to do this interview and to speak with us here, because it's a lot of useful information, a lot of things that we've learned today. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and good luck with all of your stuff. And like you said, we're kind of sisters in a way, because we just kind of have the same stories. And I think it's really cool that we're kind of side by side doing this in like different areas and like different clients, but we have a lot of the same philosophy. So that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yep, like I said, definitely check her out. Get on that free website audit. That is a gift. 10 minutes to really get some insight from a pro on your business. People pay a lot of money for this. So if that is free, don't hesitate and do it. So, yes, thank you for your time, and thanks everyone for listening. So if you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to like, share, and subscribe. Your support is appreciated. So stay tuned for the next episode of the Digital Thought Leader Podcast, and I'll see you soon. Bye.